You ever wonder why the same woman who ignored your text is out chasing a man who treats her like he barely notices her? Why a guy with half your intelligence, zero gym gains, and less kindness has her obsessed while you sit there thinking, what did I do wrong? Let's make this clear. It's not about how much you do for her. It's about what you trigger in her, not in her head, in her instincts. She doesn't attach to kindness. She attaches to dominance that feels out of reach. She doesn't crave comfort. She craves uncertainty wrapped in strength. If you've ever felt like no matter how good you are, it's never enough, it's because you're playing the wrong game. Today, I'm going to flip your reality, and once you see this, you can't unsee it. This is how women get attached, not fall in love, attached. And the difference will change your life forever. Comment, I'm ready if you're ready to understand women like never before. You're not broken, you've just been lied to. We were taught that the key to a woman's heart is kindness, consistency, charm. But modern relationships aren't built on fairy tales. They're built on perception, value, and the illusion of distance. Every day, men wake up confused, alone, frustrated, trying to give love in a world that rewards power, not purity. They're showing up, they're trying, they're loyal. But inside, they're screaming, why does it never work? Why do they choose the guy who cares less? Why do I always lose? You see, in the chaos of this modern world, women are pulled in 1,000 directions. Apps, attention, algorithms, and unless you understand how to stand out, not with your words, but with your energy, your presence, your detachment, you'll always be chasing while she keeps choosing others. This isn't about manipulation. This is about truth. This is about your freedom, about reclaiming your life, your value, your power. And the truth is, once you learn how women attach, you'll stop chasing and start choosing. Let's talk about how to become that man. Number 1. Women fall for perceived superiority. There's a reason why she pulls away when you start opening up too much. It's because the moment she no longer feels you're above her in your certainty, in your presence, in your strength, is the moment her attachment starts to rot from the inside. A woman attaches when she feels she's standing beside a man she cannot fully reach, a man she can admire, who moves with intention, who has direction that doesn't bend to her emotional waves. She doesn't chase safety, she chases something just slightly out of reach, something that makes her feel smaller, not in worth, but in capacity, a man who makes her question her own power in the presence of his. And yes, that's uncomfortable to hear, but truth doesn't bend to comfort. A man who doesn't need her, who walks into any environment like he knows exactly who he is, not loud, not arrogant, but calm, centered, and untouchable. That is the man who builds obsession without lifting a finger. He doesn't argue, he doesn't explain, he doesn't try to fix anything unless it's worth his time. When she tests him, he doesn't react, because he knows what he is, and more importantly, what she is not. She is not his source of validation, nor his reward. She's a guest in his reality, and if she doesn't elevate that space, he doesn't beg her to stay. This is what she falls for, this energy, this presence. She falls for the emotional gravity that only a man who values himself more than her can produce. The men she ignores are the ones who seek equality with her emotionally, who speak softly hoping she'll stay, who tiptoe around her moods trying to win her over with niceness. Niceness doesn't trigger female desire. It satisfies a need for comfort, not attachment. Women attach to men who have a center so deeply rooted in purpose that even her most seductive games can't shake his foundation. And if you look back at your own life, the moments you were most desired were likely when you weren't even trying, when your focus was elsewhere, when you were grinding, not texting, building, not explaining, That's when she wanted in, because she felt your superiority in energy, not status. This isn't about being better than her, it's about not shrinking for her. Too many men surrender their edge the moment they think they've got the girl. They become predictable. They reveal everything. They offer themselves completely, and in doing so, they step down from the throne she put them on. She wants to climb toward you, not meet you halfway. If she feels she's figured you out, she'll find someone else to puzzle over. Think about it. When has she ever stayed obsessed with a man who was always available, always apologizing, always adjusting himself to fit her world? She hasn't, because she attaches through challenge, not ease, through emotional tension, not peace. And the man who maintains this, not by playing games, but by being grounded in his own value, is the one she remembers years later, while lying next to a man who checks all the boxes but never stirred her soul. She falls for the man who feels like a risk, not a guarantee. The man who makes her feel unsure, yet drawn in. The man who doesn't bend to her needs, yet fulfills a hunger she didn't know she had. She falls for the man who makes her feel less than, not in worth, but in mastery. Because deep down she wants to be led, not indulged. And if you're not that man, she may stay, but her soul is looking elsewhere. You want her attached? Then stop looking for approval. Start becoming the man whose very presence disrupts her world. Because he's too focused to care, too strong to chase, and too valuable to beg. Number 2. Chemistry is an illusion. She tells her friends, "I just felt something. There was this connection, this vibe." But what she doesn't know, or won't admit, is that what she felt wasn't connection. It was imbalance. It was distance disguised as excitement. It was the emotional friction created by a man who didn't give her everything. And she craves that. Not comfort, not stability, but the high of chasing something she might not catch. That's what we call chemistry. An emotional illusion triggered by uncertainty, by dominance, by the feeling that she's almost got you, but never fully. And the truth most men can't stomach is that the more you give her, the less she wants you. Not because she's evil, not because she's manipulative, but because her nature doesn't respond to generosity. It responds to emotional gravity, the kind that you create when your attention is a privilege, not a given. You see, she doesn't miss you when you're texting her daily. She misses you when you're quiet, when she posts and you don't react, when she sends a cute picture and you don't praise her, when you remain slightly removed, just enough to make her wonder. That's where chemistry grows, in the tension, in the space where she starts asking herself, does he really like me? Am I enough for him? The moment she's certain, the magic dies. And that's the paradox you must learn to master. You think she wants your effort, your consistency, your emotional presence, but what she truly wants is the thrill of uncertainty. She doesn't fall for the man who reassures her constantly. She falls for the man who reassures himself, who moves like he could walk away at any moment, who isn't cruel but isn't caged, the guy who isn't mean but isn't predictable. And the more control you give her, the more she loses interest, because her emotional brain is scanning for dominance, for depth, for impact, not flowers, not emojis, not constant access. Real chemistry is built in your absence, not your presence. And that's what hurts to accept, because you've been told your whole life, give more, show more, love harder. But that advice came from people who don't understand how attraction works. Women attach to the emotional imprint you leave, not the words you speak. And that imprint is strongest when you give them just enough and then vanish, like a movie scene that ends too soon, like a song that fades before the chorus. You become the story she wants to replay, to rewrite, to resolve. And the moment she feels she has you, she rewrites the story and ends it. That's why she chases men who don't try. That's why she confuses mystery with connection. That's why she attaches to the man who made her feel just a little unsure. Chemistry is not compatibility. Chemistry is tension, and only the man who can stay calm in the face of her need for attention, who can hold back when she demands more, can create that tension long enough for it to grow into obsession. This doesn't mean be distant. It means control the pace. Don't respond instantly. Don't reveal everything. Let her feel the gap. Let her feel your focus on something other than her. That focus is what makes her feel drawn in. She may say she wants communication, but what she feels addicted to is mystery. And mystery isn't something you fake. It's something you embody when you're too full of purpose to empty yourself into someone else's emotional timeline. Chemistry is not random. It's not magic. It's not fate. It's a reaction to power. And until you understand this, you'll keep wondering why the girls who really liked you drifted, while the ones you barely cared for chased you into madness. It's not you. It's the emotional equation. Shift it, and everything shifts with it. You become the story she can't stop rereading, and that is how chemistry becomes addiction. Number 3. SMV gap creates obsession. The reason she can't stop thinking about him while forgetting you like yesterday's weather isn't because he was more loving, more generous, or more invested. It's because he held a level of perceived value she couldn't match, a presence so out of reach that it forced her to look up, not across. And the brutal truth most men never want to face is this: a woman doesn't get obsessed with someone she sees as her equal. She gets obsessed with the man who makes her question herself, the man who feels just slightly above, in status, certainty, energy, and command. This is what they don't teach you. This is what they don't want you to realize. Because once you do, you'll stop overgiving, stop overchasing, and start standing like a man who understands the value of what he carries. You see, obsession isn't born out of mutual understanding. It's born out of emotional imbalance, when she senses she's still trying to earn something she hasn't yet unlocked. That's what keeps her mind racing at night, replaying your words, questioning her worth, stalking your profile, comparing herself to your life, asking herself why she wasn't enough to get more of you. It's not about playing games. It's about being the kind of man who doesn't lower himself to be chosen, the kind of man whose life is so full, so focused, so magnetic, that her presence is neither required nor central. That gap between who she sees herself as and who you are, that's the hook. And the wider that gap, the deeper the obsession. You walk into a room and people notice, not because you're loud, but because you carry weight. You move like time belongs to you. You speak like your words have been earned in silence and solitude. You don't chase approval. You don't respond immediately. You aren't predictable. That gap, that space she cannot close, becomes her new obsession, and she won't even understand why. She'll blame your attitude. She'll call you arrogant. She'll say you're playing with her emotions. But inside, she's hooked, because your indifference feels more powerful than another man's full attention. And here's what really cements it. The moment she sees other women admire you, the moment she sees you have options, not through talk, but through energy and results, she elevates you in her own mind. That elevation creates a chase, and the chase is what creates the bond. Because when a woman starts chasing, she begins justifying why you're worth it. And the more she justifies, the more emotionally entangled she becomes. Most men sabotage this by becoming accessible too fast, by trying to be fair, to reciprocate, to show her, I like you too. And in doing so, they collapse the very gap that built the attraction. You want her obsessed? Stop trying to show her how much you care. Show her how much you carry, and let her decide if she's worthy of stepping into your world. If she senses she's reached you too easily, she'll retreat. Not because she doesn't like you, but because she no longer feels the need to prove herself. And the desire to prove, that is the seed of obsession. She wants to feel like she won something valuable. Not that she was given it freely. And if you've ever seen a woman go from uninterested to head over heels in love with a guy you couldn't understand, I promise you, he carried himself with more perceived value than she felt she had. It wasn't his face, it was his frame, his certainty, his disinterest in needing her to stay. A man who doesn't beg for attention becomes the center of it. And that's not manipulation, that's power. And it's earned. In discipline, in direction, in deep self-respect. So build the gap, widen it, and let her climb. Because every step she takes toward you makes her feel more invested, and the more invested she is, the harder she attaches. That's how obsession is born, not from chemistry, not from compatibility, but from chasing something that feels just a little too good for her current self to deserve. Number 4, respect greater than compatibility. She doesn't stay for shared interests. She stays because she looks at you and thinks, that man knows who he is. You think she'll stay because you like the same music, laugh at the same memes, plan the same vacations. But she leaves when the music fades, when life gets hard, when her emotions test your center and you fold like paper. Because it was never about compatibility, it was about admiration. A woman stays attached not because you fit into her world, but because she believes you can lead both of you through yours. And respect is the foundation of everything. Without it, her body might stay, but her soul starts walking away. She doesn't want a partner, she wants a leader. Not someone who dominates her, but someone who doesn't collapse under pressure. Someone who can look her in the eyes when she's spiraling and stay unmoved. Not because he's cold, but because he's solid. Someone who can hold the frame when she loses hers. That's what builds trust. And trust breeds desire. You think being nice is enough? That talking about feelings and checking in and listening to every emotional wave she rides will keep her anchored? It won't, because women don't crave mirrors. They crave anchors, something to steady them when they start sinking into themselves. And that's not something you can fake. It's built, slowly, in your habits, in your routines, in your ability to stay consistent when life turns chaotic. She doesn't care how compatible your charts are if you're flinching every time she cries. She doesn't care how aligned your goals are if you need her reassurance to make basic decisions. Respect is earned when you live with clarity, when you don't chase, when you don't beg, when you look at her pullbacks not as rejections, but as tests you were already prepared for. That's when she watches you and thinks, this man could take me somewhere I've never been, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Compatibility is soft, respect is steel, and steel is what survives fire. You want her to stay? Then be the man she can't sway. Be the man who holds the line when she's pushing, who doesn't mold to her feelings, who shows compassion but not submission. Be the man who says no when it matters, who isn't afraid to disagree, who doesn't need to be liked but demands to be valued. That's when she drops the tests. That's when the games stop. That's when she starts looking at you with the kind of eyes that say, I trust you. And when a woman trusts you, she gives you everything. Not because you asked, but because you earned it. Compatibility might get her attention. Respect will keep her heart. And respect, my brother, is only built when you stop chasing her comfort and start protecting your own path. You want her to surrender? Then stand like a man she can follow, not because you told her to, but because every part of you makes it obvious. You don't need her to believe in you. You already do. Number 5. Value is socially reflected. The harshest truth no one will say to your face is this: she sees you through the eyes of others. It doesn't matter how hard you try, how pure your intentions are, how deeply you care about her. If the world doesn't move when you enter it, she won't feel compelled to stay. She's watching you when you're not watching her, taking note of how the world reacts to your presence. If men give you respect, if women glance twice, if your name carries weight when spoken, she feels it deep in her body. Not because she's shallow, but because women are wired to assess their emotional security by how others react to the man beside them. When she walks into a room with you, she wants to feel like she leveled up. She wants to know that she is beside someone who changes the emotional temperature of every space he enters, not by force, not by noise, but by a deeply ingrained conviction in who he is. You think she's impressed by your effort, by your long texts, by the gifts and the sweet words. She's not. She's watching how others respond to you. Do people respect your time? Do they defer to your energy? Or do they interrupt you, treat you like an afterthought, pass you over in conversation? Every time that happens, she feels it. She may not say it, but something inside her starts to pull away, because she realizes you are not who she hoped you were. You are not the man she can proudly stand beside. This is why you'll see women stay with men who are chaotic, unreliable, even emotionally detached. Because those men have presence. Because other people want them, respect them, are drawn to them. That social confirmation becomes an emotional anchor. It makes her feel like she's with someone valuable, not because she decided it, but because the world around her reflects it. And if you don't understand this, you'll keep pouring your soul into women who look at you and see nothing but potential, not power. She doesn't want potential. She wants reality, and reality is built by discipline, status, and the weight of your reputation. When people speak your name, does it mean something? When you give your opinion, do people stop and listen? If not, why would she? You can't create value in private and expect her to feel it in public. Your life has to speak for itself. Not the image you project, but the real energy that comes from being a man of impact. Start with the basics. Show up early. Dress like you respect yourself. Speak when you have something worth saying. Protect your name like it's gold, because it is. Every room you walk into is a test. Every interaction she observes tells her something about your position in the social hierarchy. And whether she admits it or not, she's ranking you, not on a scoreboard of muscles or money, but on how you make the world move around you. Be the man who gets called when things go wrong. Be the man who people defer to, whose presence calms chaos, whose actions ripple without noise. When you build this kind of presence, she won't just stay, she'll cling. Because now, being beside you elevates her. You become the status, you become the leverage, and she attaches to that, because women always anchor to strength, social strength, relational strength, identity strength. You'll see it in her eyes when you walk into a place and people start shaking your hand, nodding, smiling, acknowledging your presence. She'll sit up straighter, she'll act more feminine, she'll try harder, because she's aligning herself with value. And if you've ever lost a girl you were sure you did everything right with, go back and look at how the world saw you, or didn't. She felt that, even if she never said a word. You don't need to be famous, you don't need to be wealthy, but you do need to matter in the circles you move in. Start small, build real influence, let your reputation rise, and she'll rise with it, or she'll be replaced by one who truly sees you. Number 6, she must look up to you. She only stays loyal to a man she admires, and she only admires a man who never needed her admiration to begin with. When a woman stops looking up to you, everything dies: her desire, her respect, her emotional attachment. It doesn't matter how much history you've built, how deeply you've bonded, or how compatible you seemed. Once she senses she's ahead of you in growth, purpose, or presence, she starts emotionally disconnecting, and there's no rewind button for what's lost. That's why so many men sit stunned when the girl they built their life with suddenly pulls away, like she never loved them at all, because she didn't fall in love with the man she sees now. She fell in love with the man she saw as a goal, as a guide, as a presence she could trust to lead. The second she senses you are no longer that, it's over, even if she doesn't leave right away. You have to understand this on a soul level. Women want to be led, not dominated, led. They want to surrender into the presence of a man who makes them feel smaller, in burden, not in worth. A man who walks like he knows where he's going, who doesn't ask for permission, who doesn't require validation. She wants to feel like being beside you makes her better, that your standard forces her to rise, that she has to work to maintain the privilege of being in your world. You stop leading, you lose everything, start compromising too much, start agreeing just to avoid tension, start letting her steer the direction of your relationship, start neglecting your vision, your habits, your goals, and you'll watch her transform before your eyes. You'll see her become cold, distant, disrespectful. You'll feel it when her body no longer responds to yours, when her eyes stop lighting up, when her tone shifts into something sharp. It's not always cheating, it's not always another man. Sometimes it's just that you stopped being the man she could look up to, and she won't tell you that. She won't break it down in detail. She'll just drift slowly until you no longer recognize her. But it all began when you stopped moving forward, when you placed her at the center of your life and abandoned your path. She doesn't want to be your purpose. She wants to witness it, to orbit it, to know that you're becoming more, regardless of how she feels that day. And if you want to keep her, not just physically but emotionally, you need to keep growing. You need to sharpen. You need to remain a little out of reach, not by being unavailable, but by being unbreakable. Show her through action that no matter how close she gets, there's always another level she hasn't seen, that she can follow you, but she'll never fully know you. That's what keeps her looking up. And that upward gaze is what keeps the relationship alive. Not the I love yous, not the date nights, but the quiet, primal respect that says, this man could walk away at any time, and I would feel it forever. If she loses that feeling, she loses you. And if she loses you while you're still there, she's already gone. So build yourself daily. Get uncomfortable, stretch, learn, fail publicly, and rise with composure. Speak less, move with weight. Show her that every year you're becoming someone she doesn't fully understand, but can't stop admiring. That's the only way. Because the second she looks down at you, even slightly, you've lost her, and no amount of love, gifts, or effort will bring her back to a man she no longer respects. She must look up to you, and you must never forget how high that standard must be. Number 7. Desire is triggered, not earned. She doesn't fall in love with your efforts. She falls in love with how she feels when she's not sure she has you. It doesn't matter how much time you give her, how many thoughtful things you do, how safe and warm you try to make her feel. If she senses that she's already got you, then the desire dies before it's even begun to grow. Women are not drawn to effort in the way you were taught. You've been conditioned to think that if you just show her enough love, enough patience, enough understanding, she'll eventually see your worth. But she already sees your worth. She just doesn't want it if it's freely given. She wants to feel like she had to earn it. Like your attention is something rare, not a resource poured into every moment of her day. This is the primal truth most men don't want to accept. Her desire for you is not created through kindness. It's triggered through tension, through not knowing what you'll do next, through the quiet uncertainty that you could leave and be just fine. She doesn't get hooked by reassurance. She gets hooked by the space between your words, the way you pull back at times without explanation, the way your life keeps moving with or without her participation. That doesn't make you cold, that makes you real, because real men don't slow their grind to feed a woman's need for emotional entertainment. And the man who does, he loses her. Fast. You've seen it. The guy who gives her everything, who responds to every message, who plans every weekend, who's always available, and she treats him like an option. Meanwhile, the one who doesn't bend, who disappears into his work, who answers on his own time, that's the one who stays on her mind. Because desire isn't earned, it's not transactional, it's a response to power, emotional power, mental power, the power to detach and keep going. And when she senses that you're not waiting on her validation to feel complete, her instincts react before her logic kicks in. She begins to wonder. She begins to worry. She begins to feel that fear of loss that keeps her locked in, not because you're manipulating her, but because you are too real to shrink for anyone. Desire comes from scarcity, not abundance, from wondering, not knowing, from chasing, not being chased. And that's where most men fail. They reveal everything. They give their heart, their time, their attention, all before she's even earned the right to hold it. And then they wonder why she starts to drift, why the chemistry fades, why her eyes go dull and her replies grow cold. It's because you made yourself into an emotional faucet, always on, always flowing, always giving. And no one values what they can always have. You want to be desired? Then become a man whose presence is felt and absence is feared. Let her feel the lack of you sometimes. Let her sit with the reality that you might not always be there, not out of cruelty, out of commitment to something bigger than her, your path, your progress, your peace. When she sees that you don't need her to feel full, she'll start trying to fill the space. She'll give more, she'll care more, she'll lean in, because now she's investing. And investment is the root of attachment. The more she invests, the more she needs to believe you're worth it. That's how the desire deepens, not through your actions, but through her effort. And none of this works if you don't mean it. If you're pulling back just to get a reaction, she'll feel that too. It has to be real. You have to actually be focused on your path. You have to actually value your time more than her approval. You have to actually walk away when respect is missing, not threaten, not pout, just leave. That energy is rare, and what's rare is what ignites desire. So stop trying to be the perfect boyfriend. Start being the man who would choose his mission over temporary pleasure every time. Let her miss you. Let her wonder. Let her feel the space, because in that space, desire is born. Number 8. Confidence isn't material. She doesn't attach to your car. She doesn't crave your watch. She doesn't fall for your bank account, your designer shoes, or your luxurious apartment. Those things might get her attention for a moment, might even buy you a few dates, a few compliments. But they don't build desire. They don't trigger loyalty. They don't hold her when the excitement fades. What she attaches to is the man behind it all, the man who could have nothing and still walk into a room like he's owed respect. The man who doesn't need decoration to feel whole. That's confidence. Not the look, but the source. Confidence is the deep knowing that you're enough, not in potential, but in presence. It's the way you speak when you've suffered in silence and didn't quit. It's the way you move when you've lost before and came back better. It's the way you hold eye contact without trying to dominate, without trying to impress, just being there, fully, without shrinking. That energy doesn't come from material success. It comes from internal alignment, from being a man who shows up when it's hard, who doesn't fold when life hits back, who knows what he stands for because he's been tested. And women feel that, deeply. They feel the man who isn't afraid to say no, The man who doesn't explain himself. The man who doesn't brag but doesn't hide either. You could strip him of everything he owns and he'd still walk into the room like he belongs. That's the energy they attach to. That's what makes her heart race. Not the things you have, but the presence you bring. You can't fake it. You can't buy it. You can't learn it in a weekend. It's built in failure, in self-respect, in doing what's right when no one's watching. Confidence isn't what you show. It's what you stop needing to prove. It's in your posture, in your voice, in your refusal to over-explain. It's the stillness in your presence that says, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here because I belong here. And when she sees that, when she feels it, when she realizes that no matter what she does, you won't bend just to win her over, she attaches. Because that kind of man is rare. That kind of man is grounded. That kind of man makes her feel something she can't explain, only chase. So if you're chasing things to prove yourself, stop. If you're chasing women to feel enough, stop. Start showing up for you. Start doing the hard things because they make you proud. Build your body, not to attract, but to conquer weakness. Build your finances, not to flex, but to protect your peace. Speak with intention. Walk with direction. And never trade your self-respect for someone's attention. Because when you move like your life has meaning, others feel it, and women especially. She won't stay for your things, but she will stay for your essence, for your strength, for your unshakable sense of self. And when you build that, she doesn't just desire you. She needs you, not for what you give, but for who you are. If everything inside you just woke up, if you're tired of being lied to, tired of being overlooked, tired of giving your best only to be forgotten, then this moment is your invitation to never live like that again. You've been spoon-fed weakness disguised as romance, told to be softer when what you needed was strength, taught to prove yourself when what really mattered was building yourself. But now you know the truth. Desire isn't earned. It's triggered. And women don't attach to who you are. They attach to what you represent. If you're ready to finally unlock every secret they never wanted you to learn, then comment the Stoic Blueprint below, hit like and subscribe so more men can escape years of pain, confusion, and wasted effort. This is your wake-up call. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men is out now, and it's linked in the description. This isn't just a guide. It's your survival manual in a world that's forgotten how powerful a grounded man can be. Don't wait, because while you're hesitating, another man is becoming what she can't walk away from. Grab the blueprint now and start becoming that man today.